Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about culture fit. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how do software engineering culture fit interviews? Oh, how do software engineering culture fit interviews help when the candidates know how to say all the right things in an interview, but in reality might act in the completely opposite way? Well, it's actually very simple. You need an emotionally intelligent person in the interview. Have you ever, I mean, unless you're dealing with a complete sociopath, there is very little chance there have of convincing you that, I don't know, that a happy-go-lucky person is actually a real douchebag. It's usually something you get a really strong, most people have a vibe for people that are ungenuine, or rather, I'm not saying most people, I'm saying smart people, and most software developers and so forth are usually smart. Uh, I like to say that there is nothing as stupid as trying to be ungenuine with very clever people, because most very clever people are repulsed by phony people, because it's sort of, well, as far as all the people that I've ever talked to, they feel like, yeah, these people have something to hide, they have some agenda, or they're trying to insult your intelligence, or so forth and so forth, which is, it's not a good recipe when people are aware of how phony you're acting. And so this idea that you're going to have someone who acts in a completely different way, I've never seen that happen, because it's, as I said, it sort of hangs on the fact that you have someone who is, I mean, there's nothing you can do in that situation, but it's this problem that I've always talked about in the past as well. If you, as a company, if you have idiots in your management, there is nothing you can do to fix your situation, because you have idiots who are trying to hire people, and smart people will always be able to talk around, or to always get by when you're dealing with an idiot. That's sort of the reason why things look the way they do in our society, because smarter people can manipulate stupid people, and stupid people can't be helped until they're smart. And it's the fundamental issue. You can make the most perfect solution you can possibly imagine. If the person, or it's like giving a violin to a monkey. It does not matter how easy you make the playing that fucking thing. The monkey will not be able to figure out how to do it, because it is beyond that monkey to play the violin. And if you have very stupid managers, they will just ask these ridiculous open questions and be impressed by silly things, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's why I tell people that you have to bet on the people who have the capacity to do a good interview, to have the capacity to make a good judgment call, to have the capacity, because not all people are equal in this manner. It's the same sort of deal I tell people with fitness versus intelligence and so forth and so forth. Some people are gifted and very, very fit, and you can see that they are very, very fit, and like they're big muscles or whatever, right? And some people are fat, and you can talk about right and wrong here, but what I'm saying is that if you are in a situation where that matters, you cannot take a person who is fat and give them the job of someone who is really, really fit. It's the same thing here. If you take a stupid person or an incompetent person just because they're a manager, like because of culture reasons, whatever, then all bets are off. There's nothing you can do. But if you have a competent person, this sort of problem very rarely happens. But the thing that can happen, which is something that unfortunately can never really be solved, is that when you do an interview with someone, it's almost impossible for you to know how they are going to act in the real world. Because, guys, I've interviewed many software developers who are perfectly nice people. On average, they do a good job, etc., etc. But you can never really tell that, oh, this person always just, they try to do the least amount of work possible. or this person is actually very lazy, this person never replies, or this person here fucks around with a lot of unimportant stuff, or they are all, everybody has their vices, everybody has their problems, etc., etc., but you can't really predict how everybody's going to act based on an interview. But it's, as I said, it's not usually the case that you have someone who is so good at manipulating people that they're going to trick you into believing that they're something that they're not. As I said, the only time that sort of radical mismatch happens is when the person who is doing the interview is a complete idiot. I've never seen anything. I mean, I've been on the spectrum as well, where I've been in companies, guys, where the expectations on me as an individual was ridiculous, because the people who are doing the hiring were idiots, like full-blown idiots who wanted to run their company in quote-unquote a revolutionary way, because quote-unquote they were creating a family. And of course the only thing that matters in that scenario is not how well are we doing. It was all about are you a reflection of the founders of that company? That's it. That was the main thing that mattered. And in order for you to fit into such an environment, you had to be something that they themselves didn't really understand how to hire. And so that mismatch was there, and of course then they're very upset with me, for example. But the same thing has been true for me when I've hired people for companies where I hire, it's actually not hiring people. I've never hired someone that the mismatch was that radically different in terms of culture, but I've been handed people who I don't even know who this person is, and I can immediately tell my manager, this person is not going to be able to work here. And they go, why? Well, because they can't work. They are unable to do. I have to hold this person by the hand, not because even with the smallest thing that you can possibly imagine, because as soon as they hit the wall or anything, they have no will to do anything. They're basically just going to do the barest minimum. They can't do anything or be trusted to do anything, because if I'm not there making sure that they are doing it, it never gets done. And that sort of workers' morale, I can't deal with that, because I have 100 other things to do. So if I tell them that they have to be able to go and take a meeting or figure this out, and they can't do it, not because we're talking about people who have years and years of experience, then they're useless to me. And then they can go and work in a company where all they have to do is follow a schedule, where they can sit, in this case it was a tester, you can just sit there and test, because I can't give them any type of work that requires creative thinking or problem solving whatsoever. And we're not talking now math, guys. We're talking, I don't know how to do this thing. Maybe I should go and ask the team, the ops team, could you tell me how I get access to this system? No. It's Frederick's job to go and talk to the ops team for me, so that I can be told how to do it, because I don't feel comfortable talking to other people. So what I want you to take away from this is that I've never seen a culture fit mismatch that is so severe that someone can fake being a culture fit and then be a completely different person when they get into the company. It's not that it can't happen, but as I said, the only time it happens is when the person who's doing the interview is a complete idiot. I have no nicer way of saying it, this is what we always come back to, guys. No matter how perfect your solution, no matter how great your idea is, idiots will fuck everything up, always. Because the problem with good ideas is that only people who are smart enough to comprehend them and understand how to execute can appreciate and actually do anything with them. It's like teaching algebra to a dog. It does not matter how easy you make the courses, the dog will not understand. It's the same thing here. If you have stupid managers or stupid people who don't understand how to figure out what a good person or a good culture fit is going to look like, then they are going to hire based on silly things, based on like this is how you get like quote unquote senior level software developers who can't produce at more than a junior level because the person who did the hiring was just looking at their CV and say, oh, you seem to be qualified, you have 15 years. And I go, yeah, but they didn't actually write what they were doing and they couldn't answer any of the questions. How do you know that they probably lied on the CV, you stupid mother. Anywho, so that's something you can't really solve. But when you have someone who has emotional intelligence and sort of knows enough about how to work in a software company and in a team in general, it's usually not that complicated, and it's very rare that you have someone that is that radically different. However, I will say that you can never perfectly predict how someone's going to fit into environment. As an example is, its classic problem is that you have a lot of people who are very academically gifted, but they can't execute. They know all the theory, but they're not so good with actually doing and implementing and things like that, which is something you could never test for that. Because you have to observe them over a period of time and sort of see give them some organic real life problems and see how they cope. It's sort of like figuring out how do you figure out if someone knows how to swim. Well, a brutal way but the effective way is throw them in the water. Are they sinking? And that is unfortunately the best way and the only way I know of that you can figure out the real actual details around how well someone's going to behave in a given environment. Have a great day.